Okay, class, for today's lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about day one of the Battle of Gettysburg. We're going to talk about some introductory issues that led to the battle, why the battle took place at Gettysburg, and some of the things that led to the oncoming events that would take place during day two, day three, and eventually the rest of the Civil War. We're going to talk about some of the main figures that were at Gettysburg, some of the reasons they were at Gettysburg, and you'll see at the end of this PowerPoint, we're going to have a little activity that we're going to do in our groups that we've been working in. And I'll explain that to you at the end of the PowerPoint. So let's get started. Day one, the Battle of Gettysburg. First, just some quick little facts about Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg was the costliest battle of the Civil War based on the number of casualties. There was a tremendous loss of life at Gettysburg, a very, very bloody and very ugly battle. It spanned over 3 days in early July in 1863. The approximate number of individuals killed, wounded, missing, or captured was 51,112. So you can see quite a high number. That's almost the same as the amount of casualties during the Vietnam War. Despite the fact that the South continued to fight for 2 more years, the war didn't end until 1865. This was a decisive victory for the Union. As the South retreated and lost at this point, many historians consider this to be the turning point of the war. Up until this point, the South was really taking it to the Union. They had all the advantages. They were really setting the tone for the war, and this is really going to get the Union back on track and put the war to their advantage, give them the upper hand. Okay, so the battle is going to begin at 8 a.m. on July 1st, 1863, as we talked about. And it's really quite an accident the way the war came about. You see, 2 Confederate brigades under the overall command of General Heth, a Confederate general, was moving in to occupy the town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, unknown to them, it was already occupied by 2 Union cavalry brigades who were led by the Union cavalry general John Buford. As the fighting broke out, the Confederate brigades tried to move into the northwest area of Gettysburg. They expected little resistance, but of course they were very surprised when they found out that the Union was already there. Now, Buford's men were over to hold the Confederates for over an hour waiting for reinforcements. Eventually forced to retreat, but not before General Reynolds arrived to assist in the defense. Okay, now unfortunately for them, the General Reynolds was shot and killed while deploying fresh troops, leaving General Doubleday, the ranking commander, on the field. Now, a quick little fun fact about Doubleday. He is generally credited in folklore with creating the game of baseball. Now, most historians actually point out that baseball can be traced back into England in the 1700s, maybe even earlier. But it's the kind of folksy story that we have here in the United States, that Doubleday created the game before the Civil War. And at Cooperstown, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is, it's actually called Doubleday Field. So it's a cute little fun fact there for you. The battle raged on for the next couple of hours, Confederate troops attempting to flank the Union counterparts and drive them to the high ground. Now, General Lee is going to arrive around 2:30 and give A.P. Hill, another Confederate general, permission to join the attack on General Meredith and his Iron Brigade. Now, Lee, of course, as we know, we talked about, is the main general, the head general of the Confederacy. Now, the Union troops were unable to hold their ground against this onslaught led by Lee, so the retreat toward a seminary on Gettysburg's field. However, their state was short-lived. The Confederates pressed the advantage and forced the Union soldiers to flee through the town of Gettysburg into an area known as Cemetery Hill. Now, fortunately for the Union, the Confederacy had sustained numerous casualties in their first day of victory. They had been weakened and were unable to press their advantage effectively. Okay, so even though the Union's losing and retreating, they are doing a lot of damage and causing the Confederacy to think about their next move. So as we talk about that next move, now as the events are going on, General Lee is conferring with Lieutenant James Longstreet. Now, James Longstreet was Lee's right-hand man. He went to him for everything. He was a close ally. He trusted him more than anybody, and he really met with him on all the big issues. Unfortunately, at Gettysburg, these two really disagreed about where the battle should go. Longstreet thought that they should take their forces and swing behind the Union Army and cut them off from retreating to Washington, D.C., which was, of course, the Union capital. Now, this would allow the Confederacy to choose the most advantageous location for the battle. However, Lee disagreed, as he thought they should press on and keep the Union on the run and try to finish them off right there. He ordered General Ewell to secure possession of the heights if practical. Now, however, the orders were confusing to Ewell, and he failed to attack the new Union stronghold before they were sufficiently prepared. Thus, the day one ended with a win for the Confederacy, but they squandered an opportunity. They had a chance to maybe end the battle right there, which would have been a huge, huge victory for the Confederacy, but the Union was able to get away, regroup, thus the battle is going to go on. As you see, the battle will continue. General Meade, the head general of the Union, is going to arrive at Cemetery Hill at 11:30 p.m. He's going to finish deploying the men in a defensive position along Cemetery Ridge. This is going to set us up for day two. As we move forward with our unit, we're going to talk a lot about day two, day three, and the end of this war. Excuse me, the end of this battle. We're going to talk about regions like Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill, Little Round Top, and Big Round Top. Little Round Top, where General Chamberlain for the Union had one of the greatest stands in the history of American military. We're going to talk about that a lot. Here's just a little map for you to look at. The Confederate forces are in the red and the Union forces are in the blue, and you can see the strongholds and where they were at compared to the town of Gettysburg. I'll post that for you guys to look at a little bit later. You can see. It's interesting to see. Okay, now we're going to have a little brief assignment. We're going to break into our groups. Some of your groups are Confederates, and other of your groups will be representing the Union. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to review the notes from this PowerPoint and the video we watched earlier about the Battle of Gettysburg in day one. And I want you guys to, in your groups, discuss your initial reaction to the battle. Decide what were the best and worst decisions made in day one by your side. So Union, look at the decisions made by your generals in day one. Confederates, look at your the decisions of your generals in day one. Decide what the strengths, weaknesses, good decisions, bad decisions. Get your opinion on that, okay? And then each group is going to choose one person to be their speaker, and you're going to present to the rest of the class what decisions you thought were good, what decisions you thought were bad, how you think the war is going, how you think this battle went for your group, okay? And then afterwards, we'll regroup, present those to the class, and then tomorrow we'll move on to day two.